I want to start by each of you imagining a classroom of 10-year-olds. A child is busy sketching their favorite cricketer's batsman, while another child is mimicking what it's like to score an iconic goal, while another child is dreaming about one day standing in front of the Olympic podium. Fast forward 10 years, a decade later, these same children are being told dreams do not pay bills. This is not just their reality, this is ours. Every unpursued dream is a missed opportunity for our country. I stand at the crossroads of both legacy and purpose. As a fourth generation leader of Muthoot Papachan Group, I've witnessed firsthand what it takes to build a 140-year-old institution. But today I'm here to advocate the opportunity we have in our country to transform through the power of sport, both the identity of our nation as well as the economy of our nation. Let me start by sharing with you a statistic that will truly shock you. The annual sports industry is at 620 billion and growing by day. It's surpassed traditional industries like pharmaceuticals as well as automobiles. Now, if we look at our Indian landscape, the potential is at 130 billion. That's how much we're still yet to unlock. And what we require is not just to nurture more players, to even hone one world-class tennis player who we'll hear from later today, it takes a whole team of specialists. We need coaches, we need sports scientists, nutritionists, analysts, engineers, and so much more. This is the kind of ecosystem that we need to create. A sports scientist recently told me, in India, from the past few years, where we probably had 10 sports scientists, we've grown to maybe 300 sports scientists. Even though that number is encouraging at first to hear, in comparison to countries like Australia that develop almost 1,000 sports scientists annually, we have a long way to go. But I do believe it's a story of potential left unfulfilled. 2 years ago, I finished my master's in the US and came back, and I actually spent significant amount of my time just speaking to sports professionals in our country. I spoke to over 50 professionals, and we had very, very meaningful conversations. And the kind of learning that I got, I would love to share with you here today. 75% of these very professionals, when they reach the 10th grade, or as we famously know it, when they reach board exam, their parents said, time to give up sport. And why? Because the parents strongly believed there is no potential for them or no opportunities for them in this landscape. The ones who did continue in sport, only about 3% actually made it to the top. And this is not because of a fault of their own. It's because of the way sport ecosystem is structured in our country at the moment. We have shorter leagues, and the stability of job creation is very much not there for the long term. But I do want to say this, even though the statistics may sound grim, I believe this is not the end of the story here. And this is where I think a lot of the large corporates today are going towards. We're building not just for the India that we see today, but the India that we want to build for 20 and 100 years. That's why you can see JSW, Reliance, Freshworks, even Muthoot Papachan Group is focused on building for the long term. Let's look at 1991. Probably in the country, we had approximately 5,000 to 10,000 software engineers. Now, if we fast forward to today's scenario, we have millions of software engineers globally, nurtured, developed in India, and we are known as the IT powerhouse. What if we could replicate a similar model when it comes to sports in our country? And we are able to actually supply sporting talent across various nations. And when I speak about sporting talent here, I'm not talking about players. I'm talking about sporting talent when it comes to experts in coaches, marketers, analysts, and so much more experts. I believe this is possible. If a small town in Germany through Borussia Dortmund can employ hundreds and even thousands just in one sport, that is football, imagine what is possible for us in India. I love this image. It clearly shows that if 95% of strength of a tree can be found in its roots, I strongly believe that same principle goes when it comes to sport. Of course, the athlete is always the visible champions that all of us see in our daily news, on TV every day. But what actually develops that talent, what nurtures that talent, it's not by accident. There's a whole ecosystem that we don't see every day that require equal investment. If we're spending around 5% in the education of sport, what if we could really switch this and we spent 95% on the education of sport? Then getting the best talent when it comes to athletes would just be a result of the right kind of investment. Then we wouldn't just have one Dream 11, which is a $1 billion unicorn, as many of us know. We would be able to nurture hundreds of similar Dream 11s because we're letting professionals innovate in the field of sport. I strongly believe that for this transformation to happen, it needs to begin at home. It needs to begin with us and us as parents. And parents need to start thinking about sports not as a distraction, but as a calling. If your kids are very passionate about playing football or basketball, how can we look at it as a holistic development of the child? We're honing them to give them leadership skills when they go up. Sports teaches you how to be better humans. I strongly believe that. It teaches you how to build character, resilience, and go through challenges like nothing else. You have wins and losses that you go through every single day. So I don't want us to think about how can I prepare my kid for today, but how can we actually prepare our kids for the future that is going to be India, where sports is thriving. Muthoot Papachan Group is extremely committed to this cause, and I've taken on as my own role in the company to figure out how our country can look at building the right ecosystem and right structure from all the way from grassroots to performance at the highest of levels. And that requires figuring out not just bringing about one athlete, but how can you create opportunities for those in every avenue of sport? This is very much going to be a long-term commitment when we look at grassroots, when we have to put in the right structures, systems, everything in place. But we are very much committed to this cause because we believe it's about creating shared value in our country and about nation building. Now, I want you to imagine a different scenario. It's 2038. The FIFA World Cup is happening right here in India. Fans from all across the world are watching us, and there is Indian talent and experts across analytics, coaching teams, and managing events. The world marvels at the ecosystem we have built, and this is a dream that I believe we can truly achieve, but we can't do this alone. I want each person to take accountability in this cause. So if you are a parent, make sure your child plays at least one sport. Not for them to become the next Kohli, of course, only because it's going to help them in the future when it comes to long-term health and long-term success. If your child wants to take up sport seriously and professionally, whether it is to play or whether it's to be in the ecosystem, nurture that because there is going to be a lot of possibilities in the future. If you're part of the education system in India or part of a school management, make sure that all kids participate in sport from the youngest of ages. And I've seen this when I've traveled all across the world. Why not in India, where we can have kids at the age of 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, just playing outside, kicking the ball, not professionally, but just to reward them for teamwork, leadership, and not only on individual excellence. And lastly, if you're a sports enthusiast, I strongly ask you to support grassroots with your time, with your energy, and with your belief. It doesn't always have to be financial investment. Just your time and effort can make such a big difference. So together, I hope we can unite to build a sports ecosystem right here in India like no other. Thank you.